head coach here, since you are wearing the Patriots jersey as Alpha Rob, you said you need to throw that jersey in the trash. Mr.
Sorry, Alpha
Bill,
Rob. Just ain't happening, buddy.
Bill Parcells, or not Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick
Bill Parcells
is
what
by
are you
far
doing?
one of the greatest coaches, the greatest masterminds out there. And when people spend in free agency, he doesn't. When people don't have money to spend in free agency, he buys the farm, right? Was sitting out those 12 players last season because of COVID, was that a chess move for this year?
No, absolutely not, because they still had the cap space. That literally they had created an element that if they proceeded with an offer, most people forget that they actually did present Tom Brady an offer. It would have destroyed the cap number. They would have had to cut a bunch of people. And in fact, you are not seeing them go out and sign guys like Judon and going and targeting a guy like Mac Jones and getting a lot of these other players that have stepped up and been huge. They wouldn't have gotten Kyle Van Noy back. They wouldn't have gotten a lot of these other players because of that. But they were prepared to do that with Tom Brady because knowing he was the GOAT. But I think we all knew, everyone knew that the divorce was happening. But they then said, okay, this is the roster we have. And then starting, I think it was Hightower was the first one, either him or Gilmore stepped forward and said, yeah, no, you know what? We're not going to do this because the COVID thing. It was like, okay. And then it kept going and it kept going and kept going. And all of a sudden they went from only having $1 million in cap space to something like 25 million that they could have used just that year. Now that was just that year. They still, the majority of those players are still on the roster, including Gilmore, who started the season this year. So there's no chess move to me per se that Bill Belichick was having them sit, because it didn't matter, because he still had that money and he didn't do anything with it. We sat there and said when the Patriots went up to Seattle and Cam Newton almost helped them beat the Seahawks, and we thought, wait a minute, did Bill figure this out with Cam Newton? Is there a chance? I remember people being like, I think they would go beat the Chiefs when Cam Newton had COVID and they couldn't do it. And they're like, the Pats would have beat them. There are people that were like, go use that 25 million. Go get some guys now. I think the chess move was when Bill held pat and realized, you know what? It is what it is. If we sneak into the playoffs, we sneak into the playoffs. He was, no matter what people think, he was a very, very praiseworthy person when it came to Cam Newton. I think he praised Cam Newton more than he ever did Tom Brady, and that's saying something. He really liked Cam's energy and his positive motive. And I think he said, we're going to ride it that way. Why? Because he wasn't wanting to take away what the chess move was, which was waiting for the season after, which was this postseason, our off season, if you will. That's where he made the moves. Tom didn't sign on. Okay. If Tom doesn't sign on after a year, then I'm going to do it. So the chess move was sticking to his guns there. And in the middle of the season, when they had a chance to go make some trades and make some free agent splashes to take a shot, he knew there was no shot with that team that's depleted, especially as that defense was. And he said, you know what? I'm going to hold to my guns. No free agents. We'll ride it out. Didn't make it. But then that's why he just all of a sudden in the offseason, Hunter Henry, who's just making you splashes. Judon, who's just becoming the vocal person of not just this defense, but potentially of the whole New England Patriots squad. He's such a great guy on interviews, and he's made it a point to get to know every single player, even practice squad players. He goes around and gets to know them. How is that not the Patriot way? How do you not, as a Ravens